What's up, guys? GP here with another episode of Who is Vince Staples podcast. This podcast is only going to be 5 episodes long. It is going through the Vince Staples show, which is currently on Netflix, at least here in the US in 2024. I know shows often move and find new locations over time, but with that being said, I started doing these show breakdowns with my other show called The Peach Chronicles, which I am continuing to do as well, and that is about the show Atlanta. Some of these shows I feel like aren't necessarily as relatable to everybody, and that's a reason why they get overlooked in some ways. I'm not saying that's happening with this show, but I do like to sit here and talk about them and break them down. So in this episode, I'll be breaking down episode 3 of the Vince Staples show, and the name of it is Brown Family. And I interpret the name Brown Family to mean all or any Brown family. I think not everybody necessarily has all the people that they show in this episode in their family or representing their family. Really, if you know enough of your family members and enough of your lineage, there's somebody in your family who's like these people, just because people are the same. Family dynamics are the same, even regardless of race. It might come out a little bit different or be expressed a little bit different, but people have the same aspects in their family. So I feel like that's why they made it so general, and that also just stays with the theme. It's just been black business. Episode 1 was Pink House. This episode, Brown Family.
I stay out the way and get my money up. Praying to the Lord, I make it safely home.
It starts with Vince's girlfriend pulling up, and she's getting a hard time just from the jump. And it's made clear that the mom doesn't like the girlfriend, which always seems unfortunate. I've never really been in a situation to where there's been a bunch of hostility between me and my significant other's parents or vice versa. But I can imagine if I was showing up and I was going to my girlfriend's family reunion and it started with her mom harassing me, I would know that I was probably not in for the best time that afternoon. It seems like that's typically the dynamic between Vince's girlfriend, Deja, and the mom, like all the time. And a lot of the stress is because the mom is trying to get the mac and cheese ready, which is a funny dynamic just because, and I would imagine this is probably most races, but for sure for like black events, the side's the most important thing.
She on one right now.
For what?
They assigned her with the macaroni and cheese, the family reunion.
Like, if you get the turkey perfect or even, like, the pot roast perfect, nobody's going to be tripping. But you do some, like, potatoes right, you do some baked mac and cheese right, you do some collard greens right, you do some cabbage right, you do some black-eyed peas right, you even do a few desserts right, people are going to notice, and that's what's going to get you the most clout when it comes to, like, moving forward as who's the best cook in the family. I can't imagine dealing with this type of stress from my significant other's parents all the time. And I do think they're introducing, and it's kind of subtle, but partially the fact that Vince lives with his girlfriend now outside of wedlock. A lot of older parents, just regardless of race also, aren't too keen on that dynamic, and I feel like that's an underlying thing in this. I could be making that up, but I feel like that's an underlying, like when she says you need Jesus to the girlfriend, I feel like a lot of times when men and women are living together, the woman in the relationship is looked down on more than the man, and there's kind of like a subconscious like turning a nose up to a woman who's living like that, because in a more traditional setting. And the mom's not traditional. The mom's been to jail. The mom is violent. The mom is hostile. So she's not even really a traditional woman. But in a traditional sense, it is looked down upon.
And you, put that on.
I don't need one.
You need Jesus.
So first off, Vince is pulling up in a G-Wagon. He's got a nice car. He's clearly up. And the mom clearly off rip has issues with the first family member they walk up to.
Why is everybody in yellow shirts?
We've changed the color. Paulette, put it in the group text.
What damn group text?
And in situations like this, it's weird because it's like, why go? When I watch this episode, I'm thinking in my head, why go? If you have this much conflict with everybody in your family, why are you there? Why are you even in contact with these people? It's the strange dynamic of family, but if it's as toxic as this episode gets, either it needs to be discussed or y'all need to stop hanging out. But also, I understand the dynamic of a family reunion. It's oftentimes the extended, or usually always the extended family. It's not just your close-knit family that you see all the time and that you choose to see. It is those cousins or that aunt that you never see, or that great aunt that you never see, that you only see at reunion once every 3 to 5 years. So I do get that this isn't the normal dynamic of probably every family gathering. I'm talking like this is real life, but shit, it is. When the mom and people have this person who's very hostile in their family all the time, when the mom pulls up and she's already ready to cause mess before they've even like reached the group of people, that is like demeaning. Like you can already see it in Deja's like demeanor. Like, why is she even having to deal with all this shit? And it's that funny line.
You keep Deja away from Uncle James. You know she white.
I'm not white, Miss Anita.
When she gets called white, but even I feel like all families, regardless of race, have like that kind of racist family member, or like the one that we just don't talk about, that they're not really gonna necessarily accept somebody from another race. That's just how they are, and it sucks. But I am empathetic with all races enough to know that most family members have a person that if you have like another race significant other or even a friend, you might not want them to be around them too much during the family event. And even it's weird when you're older people. I found this when I was younger, when older people get together, like in my family, when aunts and older cousins and all that get together, I always put some connections together about what was going on in the family. Because every family has like some previous drama from before we were born. Like my aunts and uncles are all older too. Like my aunts and uncles and parents are in their 60s, some of them in their 70s. So they lived 50 years before I was born. You know, so they all have such deep and extensive histories that I'm sure have been wiped over, whatever, forgotten, not forgotten, held against them, that when you're in a family younger like Vince, and now he's bringing his girlfriend into the family, you're exposed to stories from like the younger years of the family, or just drama that you're like, oh, that's how he's my uncle, or oh, that's why you don't like him, or oh, maybe that's why we never saw him, or oh, that's why you can't stand aunt whatever. Because you start to like put two and two together of like the drama of when these people were young.
Bitch that had it out for me since 88.
What happened at 88?
She introduced me to her boyfriend.
Uncle Ben?
No, your daddy.
Then Vince is now having to deal with all these people that are going to act like they know him, or act like they're closer than they really are, and all this stuff that I'm sure he puts up with so much in his day-to-day life already as a celebrity just walking around, that I'm sure it's tiring when you get with your family, because this cousin is trying to use him as like leverage and using him to help him out with his girl and stuff like that. And Vince is like,
I don't know you, nigga.
to be sitting here helping you out with any type of drama, don't get me or don't put me into that. And so more drama is happening with Vince's mom, and it's almost nice that he has a girlfriend, because he can let her go be with the mom and handle that. And he could go hang out with his uncles, and like I feel like this is what it is, like there's that separation of the sexes, where like a lot of the women will go hang out with the women, the men will go hang out with the men. And as a kid, as a young boy, you might be hanging out with your mom, you might be, but now he has a girlfriend. And even if his mom doesn't like Deja that much, she's still going to use her as backup, which is hilarious to me, as she trudges around the family, causing up ruckus and toxicity everywhere she goes.
Apparently, somebody else brought mac and cheese too and pissed your mama off.
And so Vince is sitting with his uncles, he's sitting with the people of the family and just talking. And one thing, when he brings up the uncle, he's the only person at the table with some empathy.
What's up with Uncle James?
You know that nigga's crazy.
Maybe he misunderstood.
He's the only person at the table with some money. He's the only person at the table with some empathy. And it is interesting how he's now learning his new role in the family, or where he fits in the family as somebody with a little bit of money.
Bring the Black Wall Street right here to the beach, in your city, in your community, with me.
And when people are giving him advice, first off, they're giving him advice as people with no money. And second off, they're giving him advice with advice that helps them, not necessarily that helps him. So I don't have a lot of bread, but I can imagine, especially if you come from a family that has no bread at all, and you get bread, I could see how there are tons of hands reaching out, especially when you pulled up in a G-Wagon with a nice fit on. And so while there's issues at the party, there's also issues going on in other people's lives. Like Vince always has himself as like the one living like this simple life, and he's just caught in the middle of this drama. So he's caught in the middle of a drama-filled phone call, in the middle of a drama-filled family reunion in the park, while his other uncle, the one that wants bread from him, is passing, kind of causing him another different type of drama within the family, and it's all stacked on top of each other. And I feel like when I'm watching this, you're just like, why are you there?
Hey, don't forget about me, nephew.
I won't.
These niggas is fight.
And these are the people that want him to support them, and they're acting like this in public, like he has to put up with this, and these are the people that he's supposed to be supporting, and that's just what family is. Like, family, it doesn't necessarily have to make sense why you're around them or why you're spending time with them. And not excessive time, but why you need to be around them for like a family reunion or family event. Even when we talk about the mom hunting these people down and they know that there's going to be a problem, they switch the shirts up. They left her out of the group message because she's so toxic. And this is where the bonding starts between Deja and Vince's mom, because Deja's now about to be the only person who's going to be honest with her as an outside view, because that's what happens when you go meet somebody else's family. You get that third eye view. When you grew up in a family, you can't see a lot of the intricacies of your family, but when your significant other comes and visits and they see that perspective, they can be like, no, there's a problem here.
Maybe we should just let this go.
And give one of these niggas the satisfaction of stabbing me in my motherfucking back.
You too mean.
Well, at least I ain't no punk.
Because you a bully.
And so with Deja being the only person at this event with that third eye perspective and recent enough but not bad enough history with the mom to be able to frankly tell her, like, you're ruining this day for yourself and it's not really worth it. And the mom kind of knows that, but she's okay with it just because she's a toxic person. Like, she don't care. But at the same time, you can tell she's kind of respecting the fact that Deja's like sticking up to her, because one of her biggest complaints about Deja is that she's weak and doesn't stand next to her word.
You ain't got no backbone, like I said.
But I did want to bring up earlier that hilarious line of when Vince was like, Christmas is canceled. Why are gifts repayments for hard days? I don't know. Maybe I have gift-related trauma or something like that, but it does not make any sense to me why a very nice gift is necessary for a day like this. Eventually, he's going to have to go with her family, too, and it's probably not going to be fun for him. But let me get on to my next point.
I swear to God, you better give me a bomb-ass Christmas gift.
Christmas canceled.
And I like the jokes that they also sneak in these episodes, like when he said,
You know, y'all can't be wandering off around all these trees.
just the color, everybody's brown. I don't know. It's just funny. Little race jokes, little jokes here and there. That's what makes this show like a true comedy, that they get that comedic timing down so well.
Niggas getting lined up, ruin the black families.
So like the man in the bank in the last episode, Vince is, it's clear he's a studier. Whoever is in the writing room is a studier, because they know these like black tropes that are in a lot of cinema that's not written by black people. Like you really want, like, this mystical Negro character is something that's in a lot of classic movies. I mean, the one that comes to mind the most is Bagger Vance, if y'all have seen Will Smith and Matt Damon. But it's a common theme, but it's never like a mystical Negro helping another young black person. And so he puts that trope in here to where this dude's the misunderstood uncle that had it all and lost it and had the chance to do everything that everybody wanted to do, but he messed it all up. And Vince is actually the only person that goes and sits down with him and talks to him about, like, kind of what happened. Because Vince is the only person that's even tasted success to be able to talk to him about success.
Let me guess, you're not just same old Vince to the family anymore.
You ever, like, just miss it, all the success you had?
All the time. But you know what? I have no regrets.
No?
Which is an interesting dynamic, because this man had a lot of success and then lost it, which I would argue is better than having none and just mocking people that have had success. But it's interesting how this is the only guy that Vince and the family can really connect with, because this is the only dude that kind of understands the position that Vince is in. And then he just says some old nigga shit that's just like, what?
Good God. You better keep your eye on that one, nephew.
Like, what does it mean, watch your girl? Like, Vince is a little bit confused. Like, I swear there's sometimes where some old dude will say something, you just don't really get what he's trying to say. Like, you kind of, is he saying that she just gonna cheat on me or something? Like, is she saying that she fast? Like, what is he really getting at? You know? But I think that's funny. And how, like, they kind of just, like, rush past it because he's like, I've got a bigger point to tell you. Like, you have to feed the family or whatever. But it's just like, we just gonna gloss over you saying that, man. And of course, when he comes back, there's a Post-it note there. Where did the Post-it note come from? He wrote it on the bench and he pulled it out of his pocket, put it there. It's just the mystical aspect. And now he really means feed the family, in my opinion, like with bread, like help stimulate the family, help make the family better. But then he just sits here and destroys the chicken. And just like his mom just sends this lady away, like, I'm not about to mess with you. I did what I could do.
Sweetheart, this chicken is burnt.
Bye, Gladys.
He is definitely not a cook. It wasn't literal to me that he had to feed everybody that way. But it was just a cool play on words, or play on the situation that this is him now starting to supply for the family, but the way is not going to be through cooking. And now Deja is defending Anita. She's starting to bond with her. She's finding ways to bond with her toxicity, really, because it's clear Deja's pretty smart. So she's able to use what she knows the mom likes to her advantage, which is toxic, like, jokes and stuff like that.
Something looked a little off about that other one.
And then, like, Anita says this hilarious line.
Because Paulette Jr. is a vegan. No, PJ is a hoe.
Like, it's always just one of those things. It's like that Mean Girls line. She's like, she's a lesbian. She's like, I thought she was American. Like, things that just don't align. But that's the exact same thing in this, where she's like, she's a vegan. And she's, oh, what? That has nothing to do with each other. She actually could be both. She could be neither, or she could be both. But that's just a funny line to me. But then the daughter defends the mom while they're, like, in the squabble, and that's how they come together. Vince is getting the understanding he needs from the uncle, and then he disappears, because that's how the mystical Negro is. Like, once you don't need him anymore, he's going to, like, go away and disappear. And now that he's prepared to defend the family, he now has to go observe the family that he's supposed to provide for and defend. And then the black family reunion song as it leaves, and then shows the reality of what it's like when his uncle didn't actually make it, which is sad, because maybe the people that never had anything are happier because they never had that disappointment to deal with of trying and not succeeding. It's an interesting ending to me. But it also shows the other end of the mystical Negro, because the mystical Negro usually is somebody who isn't self-fulfilled themselves. They're alone, but they have that third-person advice, but they don't necessarily live the fruits of what they teach. And that's like one of the unfortunate dynamics of that trope. But guys, this was episode 3. It's crazy. There's only 2 more episodes of this show. I do like the limited nature of this show. If you're finding this on podcast, I appreciate it. Feel free to follow there. If you're finding this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe. I like making content like this. I like hanging out with you guys like this. This is a great show. I like highlighting great television. It's been another episode of Who is Vince Staples here with GP. And I will see you guys here next time for episode 4.
That's one thing they can't take away from us, our memories.